Hello, Fran. How are you doing on this Wednesday evening? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, it does look like a beautiful day. I haven't been out too much today, so it's getting close to dark time. Sun's going down, so running out of time. How is the little man doing? Hope he's doing better. It hasn't rained here in a while. I can't remember the last time it rained. 100%. That's good. Never like it when anybody's sick, but especially the little people. So I'd like to shout out all the little people out there. The little people are the future big people. 61 degrees. Wow. Hello to Pamela. Happy birthday. It's not my birthday. It's my birthday eve. Hello to Nature Dog Realms. Hello to our Jurassic Chaos. Hope everybody's doing well on this Wednesday afternoon. Hello to the sports car ripping teacher. Speaking of birthdays, I believe somebody in the sports car ripping teacher's family has a birthday either today or tomorrow. Seems like it's debatable on which day, but happy birthday. But today, that's what I was going to talk about today. Today's my birthday eve. So I'm going to talk about the day before me. Something we all have, the day before us. The day before we got our start, which I believe, life begins at conception. But when I say the day we got our start, I'm talking about our birthday, the day we hatched, the day we broke out, ever how you want to say it. You know what I'm saying. Because that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, the day before me. Hello to Crooked Peach. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. But every I see the little chick breaking out of the egg. Um, everything has a starting point. Uh, everything I'm looking at. Um, I believe in the Creator and the created. We're the created. He's the creator. The Creator is the only one that don't have a starting point. He's eternal. But everything He made has a starting point, including myself. Like I said, the day I hatched out, not the day I was conceived, but the day I hatched out is tomorrow, uh, or the day we celebrate. But was wanting to talk about that because there was a time that you and I didn't exist. Every one of us, there was a time when we didn't exist. Everybody has that in common. But there'll never be a time when you don't exist. And, once God breathes into man and man becomes a living soul or woman, there's no end to that. So there's sayings that I don't like that aren't true, and all good things must come to an end is one of my least favorite sayings that I hear a lot because that's not true. I've experienced loss recently. My brother died one day after my birthday last year, so this coming Friday will be 1 year. And then my dad, 2 weeks from tomorrow, will have been passed away 2 weeks ago. So I've experienced loss, and their endings, in a sense, their time here was up, but they're still alive. They're just not here alive anymore. And something we all need to remember, that it's not the end. I don't like to say goodbye. I don't like the word goodbye. Sometimes I'll say it and then I'll think about it and hate I said it. I like see you later. So there's a day that you didn't exist, but there'll never be another day. There'll never be a day that you don't exist now that you've been hatched. Now that you're here, there's no stopping you. The only thing that's yet to be determined is where we will spend eternity. And that boils down to what we do with Jesus, the one that gave us life. But a lot of times, as we get older, maybe it seems like a lot of times people will complain about having another birthday, it seems like, just listening to them. But really, every day that you get and every year that you get is a blessing. So I'm thankful to be, for another year. Even though, everything didn't go my way, just like it didn't yours this past year. You still can have an attitude of gratitude down in your valleys. And that's what I've been trying to encourage people to do this month of November, is to don't look at what you don't have, but look around at what you do have and be thankful for it. And I appreciate everybody that's prayed for me. I've had several, I can't remember the amount of donations that people gave to my dad's funeral expenses fund, but I've had several of you to contribute to that. And I'm super grateful. Super grateful for all the prayers, all the kind words. It really means a lot. Hello, Pete. Hello, Pete. Pete the dog is barking at me, but he's a good guy. He's just guarding his territory. That's what y'all hear in the background. So that's one thing I had on my mind today. I didn't forget. I had some birthdays. I wasn't just thinking about my birthday. I was thinking about other people's birthdays too. I was reading different birthdays that are today and tomorrow. But I had some for today, and now it's done slipped my mind. I'm getting older, That's what the lady said in the Landslide song. I'm getting older too. But I do remember two of my favorite people. One of my favorite presidents is, I guess Abraham Lincoln's always been my favorite president. But another one of my favorite presidents has been James Garfield, who was the 20th president. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president. James Garfield was the 20th president. He was only in office for 200 short days, not long. Got assassinated, which is horrible. But he was a preacher. So I always thought that was cool to have a preacher / president. He's the only one that's ever done that. So today's his birthday, and I can't remember how old he would be if he were alive today. But if he were alive, well, he is alive somewhere, but if he were alive today, he'd be a very sick man because he'd be a couple 100 years old or more. I don't know. But another person that's today's birthday is not only James Garfield, the 20th president, who spent 200 days in office, but speaking of preachers, I mentioned that James Garfield was a preacher / president, but also I love baseball. And there was a former baseball player who became a preacher, and his birthday is today. And his name is Billy Sunday. He was like the Billy Graham of before Billy Graham. But he was a baseball player, then he became like an evangelist preacher. But I always admire that, a sports person that became a preacher and a president preacher. And I think that was cool that they both shared the same birthday, which is today, November the 19th. Another thing I was reading that was cool is I always liked Paul Harvey. Today's not his birthday, but Paul Harvey is born he's not born. He's buried in the same cemetery as Billy Sunday. They're both buried in Chicago. So shout out to the sports car ripping teacher in Chicago. But Billy Sunday and Paul Harvey are both buried in the same cemetery in Chicago, which I thought was neat. Two people that I really like. I've shared this story before, but I don't like going to the dentist. You know, probably nobody does, except for the people maybe that work there. But thing I always look forward to going to the dentist is they used to play Paul Harvey on the radio. So as I'd be laying in the dentist chair, I would be listening to Paul Harvey and the rest of the story, and it seemed to make my pain a little lighter. Not just the Novocaine, but Paul Harvey. But those were a couple of people I remember today's birthdays that I really liked. Is Billy Sunday, former baseball player who became a preacher, evangelist, and James Garfield, our 20th president of the United States. Shout out to Paul Harvey. Y'all know I like, I don't forgot the name of the movie now. I was watching a movie early this morning. It was like, I've been having like some sleeping issues. So I was watching a movie. It was either like 3:30 or 4 this morning. And I done forgot the name of it. But in the movie, it's Katharine Hepburn, if y'all know who that is, actress. But she was, they were talking about palindromes, which I thought was really cool, because I'm a palindromes fan. And but I was thinking about, November, what I'm focusing on this month, being thankful. It is the 11th month of the 12, and 11 spelled backwards is 11. So November is a palindrome month, and I was thinking about, it don't matter if you're coming or going, the same forward and backwards like a palindrome. We ought to be thankful. And another cool thing is, like I said, tomorrow's my birthday, the 20th. And if you add 11 days to the 20th, you get December the 1st. December the 1st was my brother's birthday. Still is. But like I said, he'll be gone 1 year from Friday. And then 11 days after my brother's birthday, 22 days after my birthday, is my dad's birthday. So we got the 11-11-11 thing going on. And so my dad's birthday was 12/12, December the 12th. But I'm missing those guys, and I just want to, the learning that I'm doing is sharing with others that you still have your loved ones around. Don't take that time for granted, Hug them all you can, love them all you can, while you can, because we're not promised tomorrow here. But we are promised tomorrow somewhere else, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's a good promise of a bright future. I mean, a very bright future if you're trusting in the Lord with all your heart. Trusting in what Jesus done on the cross. You have a bright future if you're trusting in what he done. But it's a dim, dull future apart from Christ. And but I'm thankful for a day down the road of a reunion. I had a few more things I wanted to talk about, and it's then slipped my mind. We want to leave the world a better place than we found it. I've been, reflecting on how Dad has left, me with a legacy of different things, a love for, he loved me, you know, and that legacy of love that he left. He left a legacy of laughter. Y'all, if you know me, you know I love to laugh. I love it when other people laugh or smile. And he left me with a legacy for a love of music. That's where I get that from. A love of sports. That I talk about sports. Like, where do I get all these things from? It's from my dad. But he left my world. When he left this world, he left it better for me. I mean, it hurts horribly that he left, but what he left behind for me, what I mean is how it's better. And as I'm looking at litter, it's one of my pet peeves. And I really don't talk about pet peeves a lot, but I think we all have them. But I hate when people litter. You're making it harder on somebody else, and you're not thinking about the next generation. But it's not leaving the world a better place. And tearing up things, being destructive. It's not what we're called to do. We're supposed to be helpful, not hurtful. Not only in like signs or different things, but in our relationships with one another. We need to examine ourselves and ask ourselves before we say or do anything, is this what I'm about to say or what I'm about to do, is it going to hurt somebody or is it going to help somebody? If it's going to help somebody, go for it with all of your heart. But if it's going to hurt somebody, that's when we need to put on the brakes and not say it, not do it. Hello to Judy. Yeah, I'm thankful for my dad. I'm trying to not look at it like what might have been down the road. The things that I'm missing out on, although I do, but for the most part, I'm looking back at the times we had and I'm being thankful for a lot of good memories. Man, I ate some chili last night and I had it again today. There's nothing wrong with leftovers. So I had some chili again today, and man, I don't know if y'all ever experienced heartburn, but walking with heartburn, walking and talking with heartburn is kind of difficult, man. But we're gonna make it. Hello to Todd Saw. Hope you're doing well. I thought it was super cool. I don't forgot what day it was. It yesterday or day before, but it was National Hiking Day, and Todd Saw took a hike. So many people have told me to take a hike, and a lot of times I haven't took them up on it. But Todd, he actually took a hike on National Hiking Day, which was really cool. If y'all haven't checked out that video, go check it out. Go take a hike. Yeah, so earlier I was talking about a movie that featured Katharine Hepburn, right? So I went from talking about Hepburn to now talking about heartburn. So we're going from Hepburn to heartburn. Yeah, that's cool that you're fostering a dog, teacher. January 30th, 2000. In the year 2000. Who has the January 30th, 2000 birthday, Fran? Inquiring Mind wants to know. Hello to the Bud Files. Here's my imitation of Katharine Hepburn with heartburn. Shout out to Nature Dog Realms, who does good impressions. This is nothing as this don't even come in the same ballpark as her Edith Bunker impression. But this is my. That's what I was fixing to say. Well, not exactly that, Todd, but here we go. Norman, look at the heartburn, Norman. Look at the loons. If y'all have ever seen on Golden Pond, that was my Katharine Hepburn. But I was telling them earlier, Todd, that Katharine Hepburn's in a movie, and I didn't forget the name of the movie. I was watching it this morning, but they were talking about palindromes. It was pretty cool. Norman, look at the loons, Norman. Look at the loons. Yeah, we're gonna have to get Chris to do a Katharine Hepburn too. Maybe a conversation between Katharine Hepburn and Edith Bunker would be awesome. Those were the days. I don't know if y'all have ever seen them. Like they have, you know how they have the little babies of just about anybody you can think of, but they have some of Archie and Edith Bunker, little babies doing the Archie and Edith voices. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I said if they ever make a Edith Bunker story, a movie, that they need to call her for the part. All right, so today is National Monopoly Day. All right, so that's another thing I was going to talk about, National Monopoly Day. Hello to Aries World. Thank you for stopping by. If my math is right, Aries World is coming on like 30 minutes, so y'all definitely head over there. Y'all have to keep me straight on the time, but I think it's in around 30 minutes. But what was your go-to piece whenever you played Monopoly back in the day? I have a lot of great memories of playing Monopoly with my dad, with my brother, mom. I think when I was younger, we used to actually finish the games, but as time went on, it seems like we didn't finish the game as much. Franz is the thimble. Aries World is the car. That was mine too. I always went with the car. Still do. I haven't played in a while, but if I play, it's always going to be the car. Hello to Heavenly Star. Appreciate you stopping by. And hello to Chew 6428. I was going to, one of the things I was going to talk about, Jurassic Chaos says the top hat and the boat. That's not a bad piece, but just the car was always mine. I really don't know why it was, Maybe because back in the day when I was a kid and played it was before I started driving, and maybe when you're a kid, you long for that day when you drive, and then now it's no big deal. I mean, you're thankful to get from point A to point B, but you're not excited about. At least I'm not as excited about driving now as I was then. But I remember the iron. We had an iron, a boot. Sports car teacher says very rarely can we get through an Uno game without someone being out of shape. Hello to Senators Hockey. Good evening from the UK, he says. Hope you're doing well. Go Bruins. Since you're going to talk about hockey, I'm going to say go Bruins. Hello to Matt. Hope you're doing well. Happy Wednesday. Yeah, I always like to play games. I just dropped a short, and it has Scrabble on it. I found my Scrabble board from my youth, so I've done a short of it. And the music that I used for it was the games people play. I think it was Inner Circle. They didn't originally sing it, but Inner Circle was the group that I used that sung, "It's the game people play, yeah, every night, every day." But another thing I want to talk about is like stewardship. Because sometimes I can only speak for myself, but maybe you experience this too. But sometimes I have what I call stinking thinking. I have a wrong mindset. I don't think like I should sometimes. And sometimes what you think comes out your mouth eventually, unless you put on the brakes. But one of my stinking thinking sometimes is whenever I'll use the word. I already mentioned how I don't like to use the word goodbye. It's one of my least favorite words, goodbye. But another word that stinks to me is mine. All right, and we know in the game of Monopoly that's not real, and it's okay to say mine and want to get every possession and every hotel and every house because the goal of that game is to get all the money and make everybody bankrupt. But if you think about that, I mean, in a game that's fine, but in real life that's sad because we can have that kind of mindset in life where we look at things as being mine. We use that word early on in life. Kids they're good about saying mine, my toy. But I believe as we get older, hello to Ace Surfer. As we get older, I really, hopefully we realize that we're just stewards of everything. I've already mentioned God is the creator of all, and not only is he the creator of everything, he's the owner of everything. Everything there is, God owns because he created everything. It all started with him. It's all his. He owns it all. He says that so many times in his word. In the Psalms, it talks about he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. You know, he owns all the cattle. You might say you may own some cattle, and you say they're my cattle, but in reality they're God's. He's just loaning them to you, and that's true of everything. But sometimes we have the mindset, and we act like it's mine, and that to me is stinking thinking. We can have that monopoly mindset, but when you have that kind of mindset, it hurts. Just like in the game of Monopoly, in real life, it hurts others. And we don't ever want to do things that hurt other people. And I know we've all been hurt by other people. That's part of this fallen world that we're living in, right? But we should want to treat people like we like to be treated. And Todd says that, Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. So you've been hurt in life, I've been hurt in life, but two wrongs don't make a right. You don't turn around and hurt the people that hurt you. And in Monopoly, in the game, playing against your brother and your mom and your dad, like I did, I was hurting my mom and dad and my brother when I played because I was getting Park Place, I was getting Boardwalk, and I was building me some houses and hotels, and I was taking all their money. Sometimes, not every time. I didn't win every game of Monopoly, but what I'm saying is, in the game of Monopoly, we was hurting each other. But in life, it's not supposed to be like that. If we all could just see everything as it's just loaned to us from God, I think we would not be hurting each other. We would, quit seeing things as ours, but seeing things as it's God's. And like when I get into the book of Acts, the fifth book of the New Testament, you have the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John is pretty much the story of Jesus while he walked on this earth. But we know the day came that he died on the cross and he was buried and he rose again. But then we get to the fifth book of the Bible, which is the Acts of the Apostles. It's what they did filled with the Holy Spirit of God, the actions that they done. But if you look at the early church, they were like, to begin with, they were so unselfish. And, in today's times, you see a lot of selfishness. And I think a part of that problem of selfishness is seeing things as it's mine, instead of seeing things as whatever I have, God has loaned it to me for a limited amount of time. Am I using it in the way that He wants me to use? And that was another thing on my heart. We weren't put here to hurt each other. We was put here to help each other, and God help us to help each other out. Whether it be, and there's so many different ways. When I say that, there's so many different ways to help people out. It might just be a smile. Um, Today, you could give your smile away, and it made somebody that was down smile. You made their world a better place for that day. And there's so many different ways that we can apply that. To how can I go out today with whatever God has given me and use it to make their day better. And to me, that's what ministry is all about. Because if a lot of times when people hear the word ministry, or you hear about the minister, people think about the guy that stands behind the speaker, the podium, behind the pulpit, behind the microphone. He's got the suit and the tie. He's got the Bible, and that is a minister, but his job is to minister the gospel, give out the good news. But we're all ministers in the sense that God has given us all something to use for His glory, but not only for His glory, but for the benefit of or edification of others. So the unselfish mindset to have is, how can I help you? That's how I define ministry, is how can I help you? So, I'd like to ask y'all that today. I got an audience. I got at least 8 people up in here. How can I help you today? And I mean it with all my heart. But I will say that with a disclaimer. There's some things that you need that I can't help you with, but somebody else may be gifted in that area. But there's things that I believe I'm gifted with that you may need, and it may be a word of encouragement. It's different things, but if we only have that unselfish mindset of, how can I help you today? Hello, I get to talking and I don't look at the chat, but I don't intentionally leave anybody out. But I see Travel with Lisa's here saying hello, and hello in return. Hello to Asakura Mining and Prospecting. Hello to Sean, the Jedi Master. Hello to Jeff, who's in a class, so he has to be very, Very quiet. That was a very bad Elmer Fudd impression, but I tried. Be very, very quiet. Uh, but if I missed you, I'm sorry. Hello to Vicky Durham. Got down to the very bottom. I don't know where my. I hear people talk about their lady friend, but I had a ladybug here, a ladybug friend here for a second. I don't know where it went. I don't know if y'all seen it or not. It's pretty cool. The shy ladybug. Matt says it is rainy and somewhat chilly here in Kentucky. Skedaddled. Now, there's a word I haven't heard in a while. Thank you, Ty. I'm a big fan of the words you don't hear as often, like skedaddled. I can't tell you the last time I heard the word skedaddled, but I am very familiar with the word. It's a southern thing, I believe. I could be wrong, but it sounds southernish. Today's word. There's different shows that would either have a secret word. The secret word is, or the password is. The game shows. But also, I remember, way back in the day of my childhood, there was Pee Wee's Playhouse, and he would have the word of the day. So I'm going to have my own version of that. The word of the day. The word of the day is skedaddled. It's probably in the Scrabble dictionary. You'll have to look it up. I'm not sure. Shenanigans. I hear that more than I do skedaddle, but shenanigans. Oh, I got one for y'all. This is definitely a southern thing, especially here in Alabama. We combine words and we shorten them. All right. I don't know how y'all do it, but here's three words that we turn into one word in Alabama. All right. A while ago. A while ago. How do y'all think I say that? Matter of fact, I caught myself saying it like less than an hour ago. Not y'all, although I say that a lot too. But instead of saying a while ago, a while ago, a while ago. Kind of like what Matt said, but I got the Walla, like Walla Walla, Washington, a while ago. Y'all was sitting in the chair a while ago. I don't know if y'all do that. It may just be me. Bioluminescent. I can't even say it. That's too big of a word for the Southern boy. Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, bing, bang, walla, walla, bing, bang. What else was I wanting to talk about? But that was, I guess, the most thing I was wanting to focus in on is, since today is National Monopoly Day, just thinking about too often we maybe have the mindset of mine. One of my, y'all, I hope y'all don't think less of me for sharing this, but I'm going to share a childhood story of me and my brother. And it was very, very cruel on my part as a toddler. And this is, I talk about my first memory. I've shared that with y'all. My first memory is walking with my mom, my dad, my brother across the street. And I was just a couple years old, 2 to 3 years old. But also another one of my early memories, that's a great memory, but one of my not so great memories is early on as a kid, it all goes back to that word M-I-N-E, mine. We had, y'all remember the little metal Tonka trucks? The little metal Tonka trucks, right? Hello to Budget Rips. Thank you for stopping by. And y'all have heard about sibling rivalries, right? When you get the word mine in the middle of two people, good things do not happen. So me and my brother, you know, like I said early on, I'm not that old, and somehow we get to fighting over the little Tonka truck. And y'all don't think less of me, but I cracked because we were fighting over whose it was, that it was mine or his. I cracked that thing over his head. Uh-oh, I only got 10% left. 10% battery warning. Which we got to go to Areas World here in the next less than 20 minutes. So y'all be prepared to go over there. But I hit my brother over the head with a metal Tonka truck as a kid. And that's horrible. That was a big error, big time error. I've been talking about you don't want to do things that hurt people. You want to do things that help people. That's something I've learned along the way. I haven't mastered it yet, but that is my goal every day. But I failed at this point, a big time error. I cracked him over the head with that Tonka truck, and it kind of broke the skin on the top of his head. So he was bleeding. So for the rest of his life, people have cow licks, right? You have the cow lick where there's no hair there. Maybe you comb over that spot, that's a cow lick. But my brother had a so-called cow lick, but it wasn't a cow lick. It was a brother being not nice, scar for life. I scarred him for life because of being selfish. And sometimes we even do that when we get older, if we're not careful, because of that word M-I-N-E, the monopoly mindset, the selfishness. So for the rest of his life, he had a little, it was, you know how you can be pale? And he had like a little pale bald spot on the back of his head from when, and he had that for the rest of his life because I made a bad choice as a toddler. And but that word mine between two people, because you know what that is, it's like sometimes we think we're in control. And we use that word mine. But you don't own anything. God owns it all. You're just steward. Whatever you have, whether it be a house, a car, a dog, a child, your wallet, your purse, your fill in the blank, your pair of pants, your shoes, whatever you have, it's only because God gave it to you. So it's on loan, and our mindset stinks when we see things as mine. That's what I believe. Yeah, it's funny when nobody gets hurt, but this was definitely a case of he got hurt, and so I had that reminder for the rest of my life that I hurt him. And I shared this because down the road I don't want you to hurt somebody. And we're well beyond the age of what I was then. But do adults still hurt other adult people? Yes. And why is that? It's called selfishness. They have what I want. Instead of being content, looking at what you have and being content with what you have, you're looking at what they have instead of looking at what you have. And that we all can be in that boat. But that's where the stinking thinking is. that damages everyone that's involved. Where there's selfishness, there's always hurt. And I'll tell you where love always is. Love, where there's an absence of selfishness, there's a presence of love. But where there's an absence of love, there's a presence of selfishness. I can tell you what every one of your sins has been. I can call them all out. And I ain't talking about by name like that. But I can tell you everything that you've ever done wrong, or everything that I've ever done wrong in my life can be pointed back to the word selfishness. Why do people lie? Selfishness. Why do people steal? Selfishness. Why do people curse? Selfishness. I mean, you can fill in the blank for anything that you've ever done wrong or I've ever done wrong, and every bit of it can be traced back to a selfish moment. Hello to Free Spirit 81. If I remember right, that's Nicole. Hello to Nicole. Hope you're doing well. But my phone's about to die, but I'll talk until it dies, because it's probably going to die before his world gets started. But we'll play it by ear. It's about to be dark though. You see, Mr. Sun done settled down, so dark is not long. And I don't have the famous Todd saw light with me, so I need to walk faster. As I'm walking down the road, teacher, there's still time for me to be a school teacher. I haven't ruled that out yet, because I have thought about doing that. And as I'm, teachers always make my my Thanksgiving list, because I mean, one of the numerous reasons we're here on this earth is to learn. I already talked about, tomorrow is my birthday. Well, what did I come with? When I came, I didn't come with knowledge. I didn't come with the knowledge of who God is. I didn't come with the knowledge of how I got here. I didn't come with the knowledge of where I'm going. I didn't come in this world knowing what 1 + 1 is. And that's true of all of us. Where do we get that from? At some point, somewhere down the road, somebody taught us. So we should always be thankful for the teachers in our lives that definitely made the world a better place. And I know there's good and bad everything. There's good teachers, there's bad teachers. There's teachers that teach things that they shouldn't be teaching. But I'm thinking of all the teachers down through the ages for me that have taught me good things, and I've benefited because of it. And it starts out with the very first two teachers you have as your parents. I know not everybody had their parents around. My dad was raised by his grandparents, but for the most of us, our first teachers are our parents, and something to be thankful for. But thankful, man, we've had so many lessons that we've learned in life. Just something to be thankful for. Where would we be without teachers? And I say this all the time: we'd be ignorant. which some people don't like that word, but it just means uneducated. And that's where we all, if it wasn't for somebody teaching you something, we'd all be in the dark. Um, let's see. Lisa is leaving. I appreciate you stopping by, Lisa. I always enjoy talking to people, whether you're next door or you're across the pond, wherever you're at. We're all in this together, I believe. And I consider, I'm thankful for all of y'all that come by here. You know, it's good to have somebody to talk to. So, like, you know, I miss talking to my brother. I miss talking to my dad, but I'm thankful for during that season of loss that I've experienced. There have been other people that have stepped up and I've got to meet and talk to. You know, they're of course they're not my dad, they're not my brother, but they're helpers along the way. Howdy to Bo Bear. I'm going to shorten it down to Bo Bear. All right, today is National Monopoly Day. What is y'all's favorite board game? That's something else to talk about. Man, I have so many precious memories of, like I said, just sitting around the table with my mom. And I don't think people play as many board games today as they used to, and I think that's not a good thing, because I believe sitting around playing board games builds. You know, you learn about that person. You know, I think it's very helpful. Uh, I think, you know, I believe cell phones are a good, can be used for good, but in a lot of ways, I think it's brought a lot of division. Whereas playing board games around the table don't divide, but it actually unites. Something in common. Mexican trained dominoes. I love that. Awesome. I love all kind of different domino games. Muggins. I like playing Muggins. Some of the other games. Candyland. Yeah, me and my brother played that when I was a kid. I think one of the games that got me and my brother, my mom and dad laughing the most is a game called Balderdash. I don't know if y'all ever played that. It's where, like, I haven't played in so long, so I kind of forgot exactly how it goes. But it seems like you got to tell three stories or write down three stories, with two of them being false, you know, something you made up, and then one of them being a real story. But those were always some funny stories, and we had a lot of laughs on that one. Scrabble has always been my favorite board game. Um, Trying to think of some others. I tell you a game that I used to like that they don't have no more is Yahtzee. Um, I ain't talking about the number Yahtzee. I'm talking about word Yahtzee. It was kind of like Scrabble, but you just, you know, just build shorter words with the dice. But we had a lot of fun playing word Yahtzee when I was a kid, and they don't make that no more. I think you can buy, some people on eBay or sell them, you know, the old games from the 70s, but they usually want a pretty good price for it. Good night to Nature Dog Realms. Y'all, everybody go over to Aries World. It's getting close, I know. My battery's fixing to die, but I'll keep talking till I see his notification. There was a game we used to play called Don't Tip the Waiter. You go in a restaurant, it was a play on words. You go in a restaurant, you want to tip the waiter or tip the person at the restaurant. But this game is called Don't Tip the Waiter. And what it meant is it was this waiter and he was holding a platter, and it was balancing. And you would lay a plate of different things, a plate of spaghetti or a watermelon, different fruit or whatever kind of tile you had. It was a little disc, it was round. But people would take turns. It was kind of the same concept as Jenga with wood, but it was hard cardboard, and you would place your plate on the waiter's hand, and he would balance it back and forth until eventually it got too heavy, and it would tip the waiter over, and all the food would fall over. So you were the loser if you were the one that tipped the waiter. But I guess one of the things that I'm trying to say, one of my things that's on my heart is sometimes I can be my biggest enemy if I ever get the selfish mindset. And something I think we all have to battle with is being our worst enemy. We're at our worst when we're selfish, and we're at our best when we're unselfish. And that was a thought I had, along the lines of Monopoly. It's all right in the game of Monopoly to be selfish. That's the goal of the game. But in life, it's the opposite. Don't want to play games in life. You want to be real. And you're at your best when you're unselfish. But the exact opposite of the board game Monopoly. Man, back-to-back chilly days is getting to me. I ain't talking about the weather, I'm talking about the food. I don't recommend eating chili before walking. It's the game people's play, yeah. Every night, every day. Talking about you and me. And the games people play. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Talk about you and me. Man, I almost got hit by a bat. If the next time y'all see me, I may be Batman. Is that what happened? Is that how Batman became Batman? Kind of like Spider-Man, became Spider-Man because he got bit by a spider. Did Batman get bit by a bat? I can't remember. Na 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 na. Da 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 da. See, I used to use. That's another thing I don't like, Jeff. You mentioned Cliff. I don't like Cliff Notes. Can't say I never used them, but look at hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. I wasted opportunity to learn. but the class is definitely fits to be over for me too, because my battery. You missed the sound of. You usually catch the sound of my battery getting to 10%, and that's been long ago. So any second now, this bad boy is fixing to go black. But when hopefully I can walk a little faster and make it back to charge it up and be at Aries World. So if it shuts down here, I know it's almost time there to be there. So I hope to see y'all there eventually. Yeah, dodge bats. I'm thankful that, hey, maybe that's a thing I can add to my list though of things that I'm thankful for. I've been trying to think of things that I've never thanked God for before. Last year I got down to buzzards. This year maybe bats will be on my list because bats, y'all know, eat mosquitoes. And here in Alabama, we have an we have an infestation of mosquitoes. So either I need the bats to eat the mosquitoes, or we can ship the mosquitoes on the space shuttle to the sun. One or the other. It's Danzo. I do remember you, Danzo. Hope you're doing well, Danzo. Hello to Raspberry Hedgehog. Hope you're doing well. Happy Wednesday to everybody. If it's Wednesday where you're at, happy Wednesday. If it's already over into Thursday, I hope you're having a great Thursday as well. Whatever day it is, wherever you are, I hope it's a good one for you. Aries World live stream started 2 minutes ago, so I am late. But I want to remind everybody that I love everybody. I don't hate anybody. And it's all because of somebody who died for me.